Welcome into Press Box Live on this Monday evening. I'm Stan the Fan Charles of Press Box and PressBoxOnline.com. With me is the old left-hander, Ross Grimsley. Ross, how are you?
Doing well, Stan. Doing well,
All
buddy.
right. You
Yep.
ready for some baseball tonight?
Baseball, football. I think there's a cornhole tournament on. I'm ready for that. Whatever's on, I'm going to watch.
All right. Hey, we're going to talk to one of our favorite people, and we're going to get smarter in just a minute when we talk
Yes,
to big
sir.
league scout Shane Turner of the San Francisco Giants. But first, I got to tell you about the Costa Sin, and I do it every Monday and Thursday whenever these Zooms are on. Tell you and remind you that everybody in Baltimore knows the Costa Sin is the place to go for steamed crabs, crab cakes, crab soup. They've got fantastic steaks, salads, all different specials throughout the week. The Costas Inn. But during the pandemic, they raised their game in the curbside pickup world, or as we old timers used to call it, carry out. All you have to do is go online at costasin.com, order your food, pay for it online, and when you show up, you don't even have to get out of your car. You just let them know you're there. They'll bring it all out, immaculately packed. The Costas Inn, one of our favorite places, and I know Ross misses it dearly.
Oh, I'm gonna see it in December.
All right, sounds
I'll be
good.
there.
We're going to do some crabs in December. Maybe
You
we'll
got
invite
it.
this guy who doesn't live that far away from tonight's game 3 of the World Series, and that's Shane Turner. And Shane, first of all, let me just ask you: you think they'll play tonight, or do you think they make a mistake in playing a World Series game through a rainstorm of variety of heaviness?
I mean, if it can impact the game if
Yeah.
it's raining too hard. I mean, I would suggest personally not playing. Also, you wouldn't want to see somebody get hurt that might affect the outcome of the World Series. I mean, if they got to wait one more day, I think that would be smarter if that's what they have to do. And I know, again, in the area, we're supposed to have rain off and on most of the night.
All right. That's what I'm hearing right now. They'll decide if they're going to bump the game somewhere between 6:30 and 6:45. So that'll be in about 40 minutes. But right now we turn to Shane Turner. And Shane, I wanted to have you on for a variety of reasons tonight. Always enjoy the conversation. But you worked with Bruce Bochy for a long time there in San Francisco. I'm sure you're not surprised that he wanted to come back. But sounds really juiced to get back in a baseball uniform.
Yeah, I mean, I always thought there was a good chance in the right situation that he would come back. Obviously, he's very passionate about the game. In my opinion, especially in short series when you get in the playoffs, he's masterful at handling his pitching staff and the moves he makes. His teams are always very well prepared. He does a great job getting different personalities to mesh together. Whether you call him old school or not, he's a great communicator. But I think he's like any great head coach in his sport. What he does is he gets the best out of people and gets them to buy into what he's selling. So I was not surprised at all. And then, of course, Chris Young and him have an affiliation back when Chris Young was pitching for him in San Diego. So, and I also heard basically that ownership in about 15 minutes of conversation, their mind was made up. So I believe that.
Yeah, he's that impressive when he's working a room and he wants something, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and again, I'm pretty sure he did his homework before he went there. So he was prepared, not knowing he was going to get the job, probably already knew the organization and, the players, and obviously not just at the major league level, but the guys that they might count on in the next year or two, and probably did his homework on ownership and everything else. It's just how prepared he is.
And not to knock a Kansas City Royals or something like that, but he knows there's some deep pockets in Texas, and they're kind of all in right now.
Well, and I think that was the situation that he was waiting for. Obviously, somebody was going to have to make an offer, but I think that he didn't want to. He would not go in a rebuild situation. Obviously, he's not a young manager anymore, so he wants the opportunity to win again. I don't think a lot of people realize. I mean, Boch did a really classy thing when he left us. He announced in his final year that this was his final year.
Yeah.
He took all the pressure off the new regime and just said, this is the right thing to do. And, you should hire your own guy. So I'm going to make it easy here in spring training and announce that, that this is my last year. That's just how he is. He's open, he's honest, he's prepared, he's classy. I don't know any player. I've never heard any player speak up about not like playing for him or being in his locker room or on his team.
Before I turn it over to Ross, who I know is chomping at the bit to ask you some questions, do you think had he known that the San Francisco Giants rebuild wasn't going to be very long, like it wasn't going to be a 4 or 5 year thing, that within another year you were going to win 107 games, you think he walks away at that time, where he just felt it was the right thing with the new regime?
I think he felt it was the right thing with the new regime. I also think, he'd managed a lot of high intensity games in a short span. And I know, in the winter meetings, we would all talk about it, that, how hard, you don't get to go from the World Series and just sit on your butt for 3 months. You start preparing for the next season. So when you win the World Series, you're behind everybody else in baseball. So you're playing catch up. So there's not a whole lot of time to recharge the batteries. You got to just keep going. And I just think he felt all the circumstances had kind of made it the right time to say, hey, I'm going to step away.
Ross, go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, Shane, you were there when they started changing, and I was there too when they started changing more into the analytical type thing. How did Bochy accept that? You were around. You were managed the AAA team. You were a coordinator, head of it. You did everything, and you were around it. You were asked to come to the big league several times to help out, and you were around that. So how did that affect him? Was he was he able to use it the way he wanted, or get the information? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just wonder how he's going to handle this now, since it's really just a lot of analytical information that they're depending on.
Well, I think that first of all, there was some information that the Brian Sabian era didn't use analytics. We did. Yeah. We looked at it as information. It was then, decided between Boch, Dave Righetti, how much information they were going to give to the players, who needed what. It went through them. It went through Boch. Boch didn't let anybody come down and just, spout a bunch of numbers and information and say, this is what we got to do. It all went through Boch, which he then went through his coaches and said, okay, Matt Cain's throwing today. What can he handle? Bumgarner's throwing today. Bum didn't even like being in the old style pre-series meetings. He was a seat of the pants guy. What is working for me today and what's not working for the hitters, and he just adjusted as he went to the game. So Boch controlled it all, and I'm assuming the situation in Texas, he's going to have all the information, but once again, it's gonna go through him. I don't think he would come back in a situation where he didn't have control over what's being used and what's being said to his team. He runs a clubhouse. He knows which guys can handle more, which guys can handle less. And, sometimes, we've said it in coaching. Sometimes you got to make it real simple for some guys, and other guys can handle a little more. And that's what he's going to do. He's going to make sure that people aren't being overloaded who shouldn't be overloaded.
Yeah, but makes a lot of sense. Now, I guess Wotus was offered a job and he turned it down.
With Texas.
Yeah, with both. Boch contacted him. I think he turned it down. I could be wrong, but I thought I read that. Unless I was dreaming in one of my stupors, I don't know.
It wouldn't surprise me. I don't, Ronnie's still working for us in some capacity, still watches a lot of the big league games. I think with Ronnie, same thing. He stepped down because he was just worn out.
Right.
And he felt like that the game was changing a little bit, and that, maybe he should step aside and let some of the younger guys, do what they want to do. But I do know that while he was still there through the change, that a lot of the younger coaches did try to pick his brain and ask him for help, because the relationship part with the players, I think it gets lost in translation sometimes. And, if a player trusts you, he'll do anything for you.
Right.
If he doesn't trust you, I mean, if you say the sky's blue, they're not going to believe you. I mean, you just got that relationship part of it still has to be intact.
Right. Do you have any desire to get back on the field?
Hey, I say I will never say no to anything. I love this game. I do miss being on the field. On the other side of the fence is still a strange place. When I have a tendency apparently to talk out loud.
No, really?
when I see things. So that's the old coach in me that I can't let go of. And people are like, what? And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry that I thought I said that in my head. But, when things aren't being played out right fundamentally, and we could sit here and have a long conversation about how the game should be played and how it shouldn't be played, but there's still parts of the game that in any era that shouldn't change, fielding and knowing where to throw the ball with a lead and throwing strikes when you have a lead and, running the bases. I mean, which is probably one area that I'm always constantly in the minor leagues going, what is going on here? But,
I'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
I'll get to that in a minute. But
That's a lost art.
For sure.
No
Absolutely.
question about it.
Stan, we had some great conversation when the Tito's is out.
I'll bet you do. I'll bet you do.
Go ahead, Stan. Go ahead, buddy.
All right, Shane, I just wanted to ask you, I happened to spend about 5 minutes listening to our 35 minutes we did last March 1st when we had you on from spring training. And you talked about how one of the reasons you were able to let Kevin Gosman go was Logan Webb had stepped up at the end of 21 and really was special. Then you did go out and get Carlos Rodon, who had a very special season with you guys. So what went wrong that you went from 107 to 81 and 81? And by the way, I think you finished like 12-3 to get to 81 and 81.
Yes. Yeah, we finished strong. Well,
you did predict that. You did predict that.
Well, you predicted some regression, but I bet you thought the regression was going to be 93, 94.
Listen, here was my concern. You don't lose a player the caliber of Buster Posey, who influences both sides of the ball, and replace him with somebody who's going to be equal. And my concern wasn't just the offensive side of it. It was more how he handles the pitching staff, how he calls the game, how he sees things hitters are doing and gets the pitchers to buy in, maybe try something that there isn't their strength to get them through an inning, and how he could coax starting pitching that extra inning out of them. All that, it saves your bullpen. It means they're stronger later in the game. If you looked at us this year, we were in the wild card race. We came out of the All-Star break and we lost something like 10 in a row. And it really, we were climbing uphill in a mudslide. I mean, it was going to be very difficult to get back into that. But that was my biggest concern, was the loss of Buster Posey. I thought it was at least 15 to 20 games without him.
Okay.
And
that's what it turned out to be, 26. Yeah.
Yeah. And in fairness to anybody, any young catcher that was going to try to replace him, that's especially after a 107 win season, is almost not fair.
So let me ask you a question. The catcher that was due to replace him, Joey Bart, got off to a terrible start, went back to the minors. Did he make some strides last year in the second half?
He did. He played much better when he came back up, and I don't think that there was anything really mechanical about it. I just think the pressure of replacing an icon who not only was a great player, but is a great person who's active in the community. I mean, he was replacing a legend,
that's
a living legend.
That's why Ross Grimsley was so hard to replace for Earl back in the 70s.
Yeah.
I mean, he had, anyway, no, so you think he'll come back and have a strong, he won't be Posey, but you think he can just be himself, and that could be enough if you surround things. around them.
Yes, and that's what he did when he came back. I think he just realized that, I'm me and I got to be me. And he swung the bat much better. The decisions behind the plate got better. His relationships with the pitchers got better. He wasn't trying to replace Buster anymore. Buster was no longer there. It's an open interview, and it's mine to take if I can show that I have the ability to do it. And he really did. The last 5 weeks was really good.
Good. Ross?
Yeah, Shane, the Yankees bench coach, I don't know, Carlos Mendoza has been considered as a manager candidate for the White Sox. Stan Carlos, he played on the teams with me and Shane, and we knew him from when he was a young pup.
A young pup.
Yeah,
I had him in instruction league as a 16-year-old. He spoke no English, and Ronnie Wotus and I were co-managers. Ronnie was really the manager, but I was just getting started on that side. So Ronnie would, let me manage the games every once in a while. But when I wasn't managing, I would take infielders over to the other field. And Spider was a kid that just always wanted ground balls. And the nickname Spider is what I'm getting to. He moved around, like his legs moved they were all over the place like a spider. So I nicknamed him Spider, which in Spanish is araña. So the nickname is stuck to this day. Everything I hear about him, he must not have been listening to us, because apparently he
was with the Yankees 14 years.
Yeah, exactly.
A chance to be the White Sox manager. I just thought I wanted to bring it up because I know how special he was to everybody there.
I had not heard that name, but boy, what a difference going from hiring. Well, Tony La Russa was hired by the owner.
Yeah,
it sounds like they're letting the GM. Rick Hahn make this choice now.
Yeah. Well, what's the rumor with Judge coming to the Giants?
Well,
Internet, what can you say about that?
Obviously we're in, which I think a lot of teams are. I would still think that the Yankees are the odds-on favorite, if all things being equal. I would think. I just think he's got to really understand the history of what he did there, and being Man O'Maris, being named with those names. Now, and that being said, he did turn down a pretty lucrative offer and bet on himself, and he won. So, I don't know, what's the standard right now? 36 million Trout. So, are we talking 40, 45? That eliminates a lot of teams right there.
Right.
Let me jump in and follow up on Ross's question. How much do you think, the player, Judge, you know what he's done, his injury history. How much of the insult that he felt that 215 was to be such an insult to the three of us, but how much do you think that played in firing that passion for him to do what he did this year? And once he signs, does he recede from that?
That's a really interesting question, because in this job you're always looking for information and trying to talk to insiders. So I happen to know a lot of people over there with the Yankees. So I wouldn't say that the offer was so much of an insult that he took as an insult, but maybe the way that it was handled when he didn't accept the offer,
that they went public with it a little bit. Yeah.
I think that he felt like he probably earned more respect than that. And when that happened, his price tag probably went up even more. And he said, screw it, I'll bet on myself, because I can probably get that anywhere.
Right. That's a great way to put it. That's a great way to put it. Yeah. Ross, go ahead.
Yeah. Shane, I know you probably went to the Arizona Fall League. Are you just getting back, aren't you?
Well, unfortunately, I was supposed to go. We had a tragedy in the family, and I had to stay home. So
right.
But
yeah.
So okay. I missed it, which I love going out there.
Yeah. Well, I know you saw the Orioles and some of their minor league teams, and I know we talked a few times about that. You were pretty impressed with the Aberdeen, it was the Aberdeen team, I believe. No, was it Aberdeen or?
Yeah, Aberdeen. I also got to see the AAA club when they were in Rochester. There is some young talent there. There's no doubt. They've done a good job drafting and cultivating that talent. So, I mean, hey, I'll tell you what, I thought it was one of the best stories of the year, the way, they kind of got back in the race and doing it with young players. The one thing I will say is I thought that, believe it or not, fundamentally, they were one of the better organizations this year that I saw, running the bases, swinging at strikes, playing defense. I mean, they played the game the right way, and they played it with energy. Now, part of that is their youth, probably, but obviously it's got to come from leadership and come from the guys who are managing them and coaching them. So, I think their future is turned a corner for sure.
Right. Anybody stand out to you at those levels?
God, I'd have to look at my notes to remember all the names because they're not really my club. But in the infield, they're really, really strong. I know that. The young kid that came up that played shortstop for them,
Hunter Henderson.
Yeah, I mean, this is a physical kid,
right?
With tools.
He's going to be a great player.
And just like he plays the game the right way. He doesn't, at least in AAA, didn't show a lot of motion, but he's into the game. He's smart, ran the bases well. Very impressed that there was some swing and miss, but he didn't chase out of the zone, so that's encouraging to me as far as his long-term success. I didn't see any real big holes. Very, very athletic kid. And he was 21 years old, by far one of the younger players in AAA already. And I had seen him in the spring also and thought, wow, that's a pretty good sized kid to play shortstop, which obviously doesn't mean you can't, but I was shocked how well he played the infield, especially shortstop.
What about kid Heston Kjerstad? Did you get a chance to see him? Because he's tearing it up, I believe.
At the Arizona Fall League, he did.
Fall League, yes.
Yeah. I did not. Unfortunately, I did not.
He's the one during COVID had myocarditis, which is an enlargement of the heart. So he missed like a year and a half. Yeah,
absolutely.
I was going to ask you, Shane. I was doing some research, getting ready to write a piece for PressBoxOnline.com about what the Orioles need, and it still struck me that their on-base percentage as a club was still 305. In fact, Rutschman at 370 or 368, and Henderson 348, and Mancini were like their leading three hitters. The next batch is like Santander and Mullins were 318, and then Hayes was 305. Mountcastle was 305. Mateo was 269. Odor was 275. Do you have a number that a team needs to be at to be able to really say we're ready to roll?
Well, I mean, the first thing I'll say about on base percentage, to me, that's a philosophy within the organization. They are probably trying to hit home runs more than get on base. I'd rather hit a 3-run homer than have to hit three solo homers, but that's me personally. Yeah. You also can't quantify what it's like to get a pitcher in a stretch with runners on base and having to throw more intense pitches. Personally, I would say I would want my team to have a on base percentage no lower than 330.
Okay.
And the higher the better.
The two teams playing for the World Series this year, and it shocked me, are the Phillies and Astros, 319, 317. It really shocked me. Yeah.
It's and obviously there was a change in philosophy about singles and getting on base and walks weren't really that important. Hitting home runs were. And like I said, I mean, we all like home runs. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I just think that you can put more pressure on guys by getting base runners, forcing the pitcher in the strike zone. And that's the biggest thing to me. It's not just swinging early. It's that more hitters chase outside the zone than they ever have. And you make it easier on the pitcher. I mean, if a pitcher's got great stuff and doesn't have to throw a strike, well, Katie bar the door. It's going to be
which
it's
they
going to be a long night.
usually haven't been doing.
How did you get, Shane, you've been around this game for a long time. A good friend of mine back when he was in baseball, Eddie Epstein, who was the first analytics person with the Orioles. He followed Lucchino to San Diego and he's worked for a bunch of teams. He always told me that at the age of 25 or 26, if that on base percentage and the strikeout to walk ratio isn't there, it ain't ever going to be there. We got a player that is so talented in Ryan Mountcastle,
Yep.
and I'm mystified how many at bats he just gets himself out instead of forcing the pitcher to come into him.
Well, again, I mean, I would say I agree. I agree with that to a certain extent. Yes, if by 25 years old, most guys are who they are. Not that they can't improve in areas in a little bit, but there has to be a conscious effort to do it. I would just say when your whole game is built around doing damage, that you're swinging harder. Swings are usually longer, so there's less room for error. And it also means you're probably making your mind up sooner, probably more guessing going on, which is why the chase rate is so high. And again, it's a philosophy. I mean, when I was running player development with the Giants, I would always ask hitters or new hitting coaches, what's more important, mechanics of your swing or what you swing at? They almost always go to mechanics. I go, no, it's what you swing at, because you can have the greatest swing in the world, and if it ain't a strike, you're going to have trouble. You can have a longer swing, slower swing, but if you make the pitcher throw strikes, you may get a mistake that you can do something with. So I think the game is still, and not everybody, but the game is still in that, let's hit home runs, let's do damage. We're not as concerned with getting guys on base or making, I mean, back in my day, you tried to get a starting pitcher to get his pitch count up as early as possible. You wanted to get to the bullpen as soon as you could, and that philosophy's kind of changed. They don't care if a starter goes, 3 innings or 5 innings anymore. So,
Hey,
and what happens?
I got one more for you. I'm sorry to interrupt you there.
No.
And then I'll give Ross the last 1 or 2 questions. I shouldn't be giving you a name I'm very interested in for the Orioles, because you might go, hey, let me look at that, and then go to Farhan. But I think Farhan knows this guy already. I look at the Marlins, and one pitcher that they have is Jesus Luzardo. Curious what you think about him, because he put up some, and Buck Showalter taught me not to watch what players do, give it too much credence in March or September. But his last 3 or 4 starts, he had starts against the Mets and the Atlanta, where he struck out double-digit guys in 6 innings. What do you think of Luzardo, and do you think he's available?
It's never been about stuff with him. He's always had good stuff through the minor leagues coming up. I mean, it's the stuff is good enough to win and be a top 3 starter on most major league staffs. It's always been about throwing enough strikes, and then when he's throwing strikes, commanding the strike zone. A lot of pitches over the middle when he was in a strike zone, a lot of times when he's starting. You got away with that in the minor leagues because he was just better than the hitters. Obviously, as the hitters get better, you have to be able to work in the strike zone, or at least, maybe get it to the weakest part of the hitter strike zone at times. I think anybody with Miami is available for the right prospect package. I really do. I think Alcantara would be, if you gave the right players because of the contract he signed and where they're at as an organization, that you could probably coax him away from him too. It's going to cost you, but I think
she's a pretty smart baseball person, Kim Ng.
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's proved that over and over. And obviously the Dodgers have had a long run over there with a lot of their executives leaving and trying to, plant those same seeds in other organizations.
Shane, I always enjoy talking to you. I'm going to give it the last couple of questions to Ross, and then we'll let you get out of here.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Shaner, give me your opinion on the upcoming rule changes that are going to be implemented next year. The bigger bases, the shift, the pitch clock, and obviously the last question, the future of the automatic ball and strike calls. But They talk a little bit about the bigger bases, the shift, and the pitch clock.
Where do I start? I'll tell you this: the pitch clock in the minor leagues works. But I don't know why we had to get to a pitch clock to get pitchers to work at a faster pace.
I know. I can't believe
because
that. Yeah.
we preached it all the time. Hey, the you get hitters in swing mode. Your defenders play better behind you because they're ready for balls to be put in play. But I will say, there's a need for it because guys don't get in the box and guys don't get on the mound and whatever. But umpires used to handle that. Get in the box. Let's go. Come on. I mean, they used to handle that. So it is what it is. I mean, the bases I don't really get. I mean,
have you seen them?
I have.
So have I.
I never ran down first base and stepped on anybody's foot or leg. I mean, I don't know. It is what it is. The robo ump, I'm just not a fan of. I just listen. I understand. I shouldn't say I'm not a fan of it. Yes, if I was hitting and I get rung up on it, I mean, we're to me the game and everything that's changed over the years. We're losing the human element. So for me, even as a player, some of the most exciting plays were being first and third with one out. If I break up this double play, we score a run and go ahead. I'm on second base with two outs. It's a hard line drive to right field. I know I'm going to be waved. I know the ball's going to probably beat me. I cleanly run into the catcher. Like, those are exciting plays in the game. The manager coming out and arguing with the umpire is an exciting thing. Now, we know it's going to turn into an ejection, but fans like that stuff. Fans look forward to that stuff. So I get we're trying to change the game, I guess, for the younger generation. But I have always felt, and I do believe that you got to stay current. But I got a lot of old school in me too. There's parts of the game that I liked. Parts of the game that you could influence the outcome that were legal and like, hey, turn it. Second baseman who can turn a double play were huge in the big leagues. Yeah. Those are good footsteps. They cost you games. I mean, those were ways to win games that were taken away. And listen, I work a lot of minor league games during the year, and it's nice that the game, doesn't last, 4 hours and 10 minutes because nobody will get in the box and nobody will get on the mound. But at the same time, I don't think I'm there to be an hour and 45 minutes either. Like, I'd like the pace of the game. It's the umpire's job and the manager's job to keep guys and keep the pace on, get on, get off the field, get on the mound, make the play, get in the box. I mean, I don't know. It's just, the game was so good for so many years, and I still love the game. Don't get me wrong. But I just think there were other ways to get it done without having to make bases bigger and put clocks on things where there's never been clocks and all those things.
Always.
Last question. Well, one more question.
Go ahead.
The one knee catching.
Well,
without throwing a punch through the TV screen at me.
Well,
tell me about it.
So, and I've had this conversation with Steve Decker for years, and Decker was a catcher in the big leagues, and obviously he was my hitting coordinator. And he said he caught on one knee all the time, but not with runners on base, not with two strikes on a hitter, not with a runner on third. And see, I played for Augie Garrido, and our whole offense and defense. On offense, it was about gaining 90 feet. On defense, it was about protecting 90 feet. So to me, when you don't respect what 90 feet means in the course of a game, the outcome of a one-run game, you don't understand how catching on one knee just crushes your pitcher and your team. The other part of it is everybody cannot do it. You cannot make everybody's not JT Realmuto.
Right.
Okay. And the question was thrown out there was that you have better pop times. I go, yeah, but look at the accuracy. They're getting rid of it in a hurry, but I'm watching throws into center field. I mean, and again, obviously that is a personal opinion. That's my opinion. If I'm managing and I got the tying run on third base, I don't want my catcher on one knee.
Well, why are they trying to block? They're blocking like this, or they're not trying to get over in front of the balls. They're blocking, like trying to make a fielder, like a first baseman.
Well,
what's the deal there?
Most of them aren't athletic enough to get off that knee and move over. That's the problem.
That's the problem. Yeah.
That's the problem. So their only hope is to pick it like a first baseman.
Right.
And, it's deflected most of the time or by them. And again, it's another 90 feet. That's what I'm saying. I mean, and I've been part of this game for a long time, and I still love watching baseball as much as I ever loved watching it. But to me, there's a meaning of the way the game was played and the way the game's played now that could make the game even better.
He always makes us smarter. He's Shane Turner. Shane, always enjoy talking to you.
Absolutely a pleasure, guys.
I mean that. Of all the guests we have, I learn more from talking to you than anybody else. He's Shane Turner. I thank him for coming on. Ross Grimsley, hopefully we can catch you again in around spring training time. All right.
Gotcha.
Shaner, thanks, buddy. Tell Beth, hey,
Thank you very much.
We love you, man.
Love you too.
For Shane Turner, Ross Grimsley, I'm Stan the Fan Charles, and we thank the Costas Inn as always for sponsoring these Zooms. Good night, everybody.